So today we're going to be checking out Eureka Springs here in Escondido, California. We got to check out the entire area. We're going to go full vlog, go into the schools, kind of figure out where it's located, and maybe this is neighborhood for you. We're getting after it right now.
Welcome to the Juliana Show.
What's up, amazing people? I am 𝐒𝐻𝐪 here with the Mortgage List team located out of here in San Diego, California. And if this is the first time to my channel and you're looking to learn everything you got to know about what it's like to eat, live, sleep, and play here in San Diego, then this is the channel for you. You definitely want to click that subscribe button, tap that little bell so you're reminded every single time we release new videos. We release them every single week, and now we're going to be checking out all the new vlogs, all the new areas here in San Diego, so that way you can determine whether this is the area for you. We're getting phone calls every single day with people just like you, thinking about making that move to somewhere in San Diego. And if you're thinking about making that move, you definitely got to reach out to us. Give us a call, send us a text or an email, whatever is easiest for you. We definitely got your back when moving to San Diego. Now, let's get after Eureka Springs, Escondido, California, and the definite stuff you got to know before you move here. So let's get after it. So one of the first things that you got to know when it comes to Eureka Springs is that when you enter right over here, it's actually 𝐒𝐿𝐼 Way. So 𝐒𝐿𝐼 Way will actually take you into the left, which is not Eureka Springs, and the right, which is technically Eureka Springs. So you're going to go on an Oro Blanco Circle, which is going to be to the right. That's where you're going to pay Melrose. And then you go to the left and you're not going to have to pay Melrose. So you do still have HOAs when it comes to this area right over here. You do have HOAs. But when you come to the other area, and it's right over here, this is going to have HOAs and Melrose. So you definitely do get the ability of having the amenities in both areas. Perk obviously is that if you go into the left side, which is actually where Oak Park is, then you're actually not going to end up having to pay the additional $3,000 to $4,000 when it comes to the Melrose. So this is actually the front park that you're going to be looking at when it comes to Eureka Springs. And this is actually what I was referring to when it comes to right over there. That's actually El Norte Parkway, which will actually take you right into here, which is actually 𝐒𝐿𝐼 Way. The big difference, like I said, is that on the left side, we actually do not have the Melrose. Then where to the right side, you actually will have the Melrose. One thing to keep in mind is that as you go into Eureka Springs, right on the other side of this road, crossing that street light, it's not 𝐒𝐿𝐼 Way. It's actually another street. So you always want to make sure that you're making sure that you make that right turn as to where you're supposed to be. And one of the beautiful parts about Eureka Springs is that you do actually end up having this great green grass in the very beginning of the entrance. are here at 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐜𝐫𝐢𝐋 Park, which is actually here in Eureka Springs, again here in Escondido. The difference is that this is one of two parks that's actually located here in the Eureka Springs community. This one's off of 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐜𝐫𝐢𝐋, mainly because it's 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐜𝐫𝐢𝐋. That's actually how it got its name. One of the two parks. The other one is actually just equivalently as big. We're going to be checking that one out too. The difference is this one, where you're going to find this park and then actually this side of the community is as you're coming down to East Valley Parkway, you're going up the hill over to Valley Center. That's actually where you're going to find this side of the Eureka Springs community. This is actually, I would say, like kind of like the larger side of Eureka Springs, because in the very opening, that was like the first phase that's off of Oro Blanco and Key Lime Way, but right before you go onto the other side that I was talking about originally, which is Oak Park, which is technically not Eureka Springs. Of course, they get the benefit of not paying the HOA here, so it is definitely a difference. So I think one of the biggest benefits of Eureka Springs is that you get to hang out here with the big humongous parks. We have so much green grass. While it's not always fun to pay an HOA, it's actually kind of cool to be able to have the benefit of being able to make sure that the community stays nice and pretty, nice and green. Here in Eureka Springs, you're going to end up finding that overall, the community in itself is actually really well kept. They do definitely have obviously greenscapers and things like that you need to expect. And so that's just something that you need to be aware of when it comes to Eureka Springs. So let's talk a little bit more about as to kind of like the schools. So Eureka Springs, as to where it lands, depending on the divider of like East Valley Parkway, whether you're on the left or whether you're on the right, will depend on whether you're going to be going to actually Glenview as to an elementary school or whether you're going to be going to Orange Glen. That is going to be the other option for your elementary schools. The options when it comes to middle schools, you're going to be going to Hidden Valley. When it comes to Hidden Valley, it does cover actually 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. And then we're talking about Orange Glen, which was technically also a high school. So Orange Glen High School is actually going to be where your 9, 10, and 11th and 12th graders are actually going to ending up. Okay, so quick nuts and bolts of information that you've got to know when it comes to, in general, Escondido. So Escondido has about 3 to 3.5 million people in Escondido. And in Escondido, there's a very large variation of population when it comes to kind of like where you're going to be paying with regards to a house. So meaning that if you're thinking about home prices are just going to be like in the 400s because it's a larger community, and that back in the day in 07, 08, maybe you will have found a home that's here in Escondido that's maybe like in the $500,000 range. It's kind of very different now. So the difference is that you're going to actually expect that when it comes to like in general Escondido, you can find homes in the high 500s, kind of mid 500s as well, that are going to be more located like on the flower streets in the middle part of Escondido. And then you're going to find homes like what we're talking about today, which is actually in Eureka Springs. Homes in Eureka Springs used to sell when they first were actually being built out in the market at like $500,000, $600,000. Right now, in the height of 2021, that's actually not where they're selling right now. So if you're looking like at a one story, you're looking at somewhere between like $750,000 to $760,000 on regards to a home price. And then in comparison to like a 2-story, where you're going to end up finding the square footage higher north of like $2,500. So closer to like $2,500 to $3,000, $3,500. In that point, you're going to end up finding that the home values at that point right now are actually selling for about $800,000. So you are going to end up paying not just HOA, Melrose, but our home prices in Eureka Springs are a little bit more expensive. With that being said, it also comes with the amenities that comes along with Escondido and Eureka Springs. So Eureka Springs is kind of like a little bit on the far end, right before you go to Valley Center. So where is Eureka Springs actually located? So Eureka Springs community, like I said, it serves about 5,000 people in the population in all the homes that were built back in 2007, 2008, 2009. So the easiest way to come down here when it comes to Eureka Springs is that you're going to be coming off the 15 or the 78. Either way is going to get you here. The big difference though is that when you get down here, you're going to be pretty much hitting Valley Center. So as you go up to basically Valley Center, before you go up the hill, then that's when you're going to arrive here in Eureka Springs in Escondido. That's the last community that you're going to see before you hit that Valley Center line. So it's really important to know that if you do decide to purchase in Eureka Springs in Escondido, you're going to end up finding that the cost per gas is going to be a little bit more expensive because you're not going to be right off the freeway. So it is going to take you a little bit longer to be able to get to Eureka Springs as a new home in comparison to, let's say, if you were going to be buying in Harmony Grove. Harmony Grove is right off of the 15, so it's actually a lot easier to get there. And then per se, your gas is going to be quite a bit less expensive because you're off the 15 if it plans to be that you're going to be driving somewhere close. So some really good things just to know is that if you are going to be driving, let's say like to Mira Mesa or Claremont Mesa, Balboa, it's going to take you a good 40 minutes to get from Eureka Springs all the way to your work. And definitely easily a good like 10 to 15 minutes are definitely going to be just driving up Bear Valley to go past a whole bunch of the schools. Some schools to anticipate, it's going to be Orange Glen Elementary. And then like we were talking about with Orange Glen High School, you're going to anticipate as well. You're going to keep going up Bear Valley. And then as you go up Bear Valley, you're going to even anticipate LR Green as well as San Pasqual. These are all schools that as you're driving from Eureka Springs to get to work, whether it's Mira Mesa or Claremont Mesa, you're going to end up actually taking that additional drive because you're going to end up going through 4 schools before you actually get to the freeway. So once you hit, let's say the freeway, you're going to be connecting to the 15 freeway. It's typically the way you're going to end up going. Unless you got to go to the 78 because you're going to be working in San Marcos or you're going to be working in Vista, Oceanside. That's typically the reason why you're going to be going over to the 78 freeway. But if you're going to be going over to the 15 freeway, that's going to be where you're going to be actually driving over to, like I said, Claremont Mesa, Mira Mesa, Rancho Bernardo. That, depending on how far down on the 15, will depend on actually how long it's going to take you. One thing I definitely recommend is that you got to get the carpool pass, which means that if you did not have 2 people in your car, you'd be able to get out of Escondido, get on the carpool, and then still be able to, get to work on time. So a little bit food for thought as you're kind of deciphering what to do and try to lessen the time to be able to get to work. So another thing that you got to know about is the schools. So look, Escondido schools are honestly not that great. I feel like they kind of get like a bad rap because we don't have 8, 9, 10 rating schools. With that being said, our education in our schools here in Escondido are pretty amazing. I mean, like I've grown up here in Escondido and I've had nothing but successes. My daughters also go to school here in Escondido. We do have a whole bunch of charter schools. So it gives you definitely a lot of different options to be able to send your kids to, whether it's like elementary or middle school, or whether you're thinking about doing high school. There's also at-home learning, things like that. We've been doing a whole bunch of videos that talk about the concepts of checking out not just our public schools that we have here in Escondido, but also checking out the charter schools, because the charter schools are actually one of the biggest reasons why a lot of people do come here. Because like, for example, we have Heritage. Heritage is actually rated one of the highest schools here in not only just San Diego, but also in California overall. And then we have like San Pasqual Union Elementary. So San Pasqual Union Elementary is technically goes from preschool, kindergarten, all the way up to actually 8th grade. So it also takes care of all of your middle school time. So before you actually hit up your high school time, that's actually all going to be set up at San Pasqual. The biggest difference at San Pasqual, though, it is not part of the Escondido Union School District. You actually have to get an intra-district transfer out of the Escondido School District to be able to go to that school. So you may or may not be getting it. It really kind of depends on the situation of your child, and then also a whole bunch of other factors. You definitely got to check out their website to be able to determine whether that's going to be something that you can actually even do. Other thing that you got to keep in mind is that I do have actually some links on the very bottom that'll take you to some of the rules with regards to the schools, and then kind of like the what to preempt, what to expect. And when it comes to that is kind of where you're going to end up. So like I said, here in Eureka Springs, you're going to end up either in Glenview or Orange Glen Elementary, and both of which are technically like almost right next door to each other. I mean, like one is on one side, which is on East Valley Parkway, and then unlike what we were talking about before, that it actually connects right close to a video that we've done before, is actually on 𝐒𝐻𝐾𝐋. 𝐒𝐻𝐾𝐋 is a community that's actually right down the road, about, let's say, 5 minutes away. You could probably walk there in about 10 to 15 minutes. The very big difference on 𝐒𝐻𝐾𝐋 is that it was just being built and it's just starting. It's just in its original first couple of phases. And in these couple of phases, though, that right now they're actually already starting in the middle 800s. When I first did my first video, they were actually starting in the middle 700,000s. Now, when I am shooting this video today, it's actually closer to 800, middle 800s, before they're doing their final build outs. So that's right now, which is actually where they're at. We're definitely going to be doing some additional videos when it comes to 𝐒𝐻𝐾𝐋 as well. We're going to be doing some vlogs, so that way you guys can definitely check that out. But we would definitely want to be able to show you case what we have right now in Eureka Springs, which is actually located, like I said, here in Escondido. So let's go back to some of the information that you need to know as to where it's located. So we did talk a little bit about it being located actually in Escondido, right before the grade, before you go up to Valley Center. So when it comes to Eureka Springs, you're going to end up anticipating homes that are either 1-story or 2-story homes. Like I said, the homes were built back in 2007, 2008, and 2009. There was a lot of the homes that were built out before the housing crisis that happened. And then in these homes, they don't have a lot of turnover. So like right now, there's actually only 3 that I've seen that are actually for sale in Eureka Springs. One is on the other side of East Valley Parkway, which is actually on the other side of Oak Park. And then there's another one that's on the flip side, on the other side of Eureka Springs. So there is not as many for sale right now in Eureka Springs, and that's just because of the community that you're actually going to be living in. So you definitely want to kind of be aware that if you do want to live here, you're going to end up finding that you're going to take a little while to get into here, because there's not a lot of people selling, as it is right now in a seller's market. There's not a lot of people selling overall, whether it's in San Diego County or here in Escondido, or just in general, there's not going to be a lot of people that are going to be selling their homes. So the one thing that you really got to keep in mind is that if you do definitely want to buy here in Eureka Springs, it may be taking a little bit longer than you actually anticipated. Okay, so if you were thinking about making a move to somewhere in San Diego, or maybe you're thinking about making a move to here in Eureka Springs and Escondido, you definitely need to reach out to us. We get phone calls, text messages, emails. People even find us on Facebook and YouTube, of course, to be able to reach out to us so we can help them get into their new home, whether it's here in Escondido or somewhere in San Diego. You definitely got to reach out to us, because we got your back. One thing to remember is that we release videos every single week on this channel talking about what it's like to eat, live, sleep, and play here in San Diego. And today we're talking about Escondido and Eureka Springs. So if this is the channel for you, you definitely want to click that subscribe button, tap that little bell, so you're reminded every single time we release a new video, because we're doing it every single week. And until next time, we'll see you later.